Alright, welcome to another Rusty Beauties video, and today we're gonna do part 2 on the 1965 Triumph TR4 that we recently purchased, and we called her Tiara the Fourth. Today, actually, if you've seen in one of my previous videos, my idea was to work on my Spitfire. It required some engine work that I thought it was gonna be much simpler. Turned out the motor needs rebuild. So unfortunately that didn't happen, and eventually we're gonna have to rebuild this engine, but I don't wanna deal with too many things at the same time. I have the GT6 that's taken apart. I started with this TR4 now. I don't want to take apart another car, so we're gonna leave it alone for now, and we're gonna focus on the TR4. Quick recap on the previous video. So we picked her up and she was sitting outside for 28 years. We cleaned up the floors and everything inside, and it turns out that they are pretty solid, even though they're cheesy. Like, there's some through holes, but they are not big holes. They're like pinholes on the floors that I can temporarily patch. So the idea for this car is to just put it back on the road and make it safe for the road. Of course, we don't want to just put it back on the road, we want to make it safe, but we're not gonna do any body work other than the most important ones. Of course, we're gonna have to weld the holes on the seals, and basically we're gonna do some patchwork on the body to make it solid, but we're not gonna paint it. We're gonna do exactly what we did with David on his car, actually, that he's working on right now. I'll show you a little bit later if you haven't seen that video. But places like that we're not gonna touch. I mean, we're gonna clean them up a little bit. We're gonna just scotch bright it, and then we're gonna clear coat on top of all that. We're gonna get rid, of course, of the loose paint. We're not gonna leave it there. Whatever is loose is gonna come off, but we might buff it a little bit and clear coat it. Holes like this we're gonna repair. We're not gonna leave holes like that, but we're gonna patch it. Whatever people were doing once upon a time when these cars were daily drivers, just to keep them on the road, that's what we're gonna do. Of course, we're gonna take the suspension apart and we're gonna rebuild it. We're gonna replace all the brake lines, we're gonna rebuild the cylinders and all that. And turned out that we're gonna have to rebuild the engine also, because it is seized. Okay, it just won't budge. I even snapped the bolt on the crank in the front. Turns out I didn't snap it. I took it out, it didn't snap. I was wondering, how is it possible that I snapped such a big bolt? I actually stripped the threads, so I'm hoping the threads on the crankshaft are not bad, but we'll see about that one day. But the engine is pretty well seized. Also, the valve train is seized, so I'm thinking I have another engine, a TR3 engine for my TR3 that is over there by the fence. The engine is inside the shop under my bench for a year now, so we're gonna put that on the stand. We're gonna take it apart, we're gonna see what that needs, because that one is turning over, this one is not. So we're gonna rebuild that one and we're gonna install it here. So that's today's video. We're gonna disassemble and diagnose this engine, see what it needs, order parts, take whatever we need to take to the machine shop, and start the process. Here is David's TR4 that I mentioned. It was pretty much in the same shape, even worse than this one actually. And last year we did exactly the same job. We rebuilt brakes, suspension, everything. It's perfect for the road. We didn't rebuild the engine at that time, but we took it to Indiana, Pennsylvania. It drove all the way there and came back. It was like 1300 miles, absolutely no problem, and other than smoking from
broken piston ring.
Yeah, it had broken piston rings and stuff like that. So we rebuilt this engine, just finished rebuilding it. David is still tuning the carbs. He installed these dual Weber carbs, and the body, you see, he did a little bit more than what I'm planning to do on that car. Like, he didn't leave any rusty spots, he covered them all, but Still, there's rusty holes here and there. I think we patched all the rusty holes, but there's a lot of body filler on this car. But he even sprayed white and red paint and made some areas look like the other areas. Like for example, this is original patina here, but here I believe this is artificial patina.
Yeah, because we bodyworked that with fiberglass because this was all rusted out badly.
Yeah.
So we bodyworked with fiberglass.
Yeah.
And then we went back and just did a base layer of white to match the primer that was on the car.
Yeah.
And did a Rust-Oleum red spray paint over top and sanded back through.
Yeah, so that's what I'm not gonna do. I have these big rusty spots that are gonna remain rusty, and that's how they're gonna be clear coated. Of course, after get cleaned a little bit. Whenever I make patches, because I need to weld some patches there, that's where I'm probably gonna leave it even bare metal and clear coat the bare metal. I don't know, we're gonna see about the body, but it's not gonna be a lot of work on the body. It's gonna be rebuild engine, rebuild suspension, rebuild brakes, rebuild everything that's required for the car to be safe on the road, but the body is gonna stay kind of neglected, but not really. It's gonna be a rusty beauty. So again, without further ado, let's get Okay, so the engine is on the stand and I have a good feeling about it because I don't know if I mentioned, like I keep saying this is the engine from my TR3, but actually it is for my TR3, but it didn't come out of my TR3. This engine David bought together with an overdrive transmission from a viewer actually. We went to pick up the engine and the transmission, turns out that he was one of our viewers.
I remember he had a Jaguar and E-Type in the garage at the same time.
Yeah, he had lots of things, so hopefully they are going back on the road at some point. As far as I remember, he said these were his dad's cars and he didn't know anything about the condition of the engine and the transmission. The transmission turned out to be okay.
I think we rebuilt it. That's the one that went in the this
250.
car, right?
Oh,
This car.
okay, that one went in this car,
Right.
and we had to. Well, it went back. I don't know. I don't remember. It doesn't.
The overdrive from it
Yeah.
and put it on the TR4 train.
Okay. Yeah. So the overdrive worked great. We never had issues with the overdrive. Anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, we might get lucky here because I just took the flywheel, the clutch, and the plate out, and look, the clutch looks like it's brand new. I don't think this clutch has ever been used. The flywheel looks like it is very nicely cleaned. I don't think this engine has been run after it's been rebuilt, so that's my idea. That's my wishful thinking, that this engine is rebuilt and never started after that. But look, everything looks like brand new. Of course, it got surface rust, but no oil on everything.
Well, let's look in the ports here. I see some carbon on the valves. So. Can you see?
Yeah, kind of.
Sorry to burst your bubble.
I'm not really sure.
We're gonna find out shortly.
No, I think David is just making up stuff because he's jealous. So yeah, we're taking it apart, including here. Look, there's no oil that was like normally if an engine has been taken out of a car, everything is greasy here in the back. Go for your meeting, please. But here looks like it's been assembled and never run. I don't know, again, it is wishful thinking. We're gonna take it apart in any case, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't need machining. If it needs parts, I don't mind buying parts. I just don't want to deal with machine shops because it's gonna take time. I want to be able to take it apart and put it back together as soon as possible and put it in that car Because I don't have a car apparently. My car left me.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a coffee can for these?
Yes.
External engine coffee can?
It's already started. Not bagging and tagging anything. Don't
like
have
that.
time for that.
So much freedom.
I know. I'm gonna have to drain the oil. Anyways, we start taking the auxiliaries apart. I'm gonna see if there's oil in it. I never tested actually. I never checked. Let's see. Look at the dipstick. S-shaped this dipstick.
I might have done that.
Okay. Even there is oil in it, and it looks like really good oil. So we're gonna save that. Yeah. Anyways, I think I'm gonna put you on time lapse, and we're gonna keep giving you updates every once in a while. Fingers crossed. Okay, so David took apart the front and the timing cover, and the chain was pretty loose actually. So unfortunately it's not a rebuilt engine. It looks like maybe they changed the clutch and stuff with new ones, but here everything was old. There was a lot of slack on the chain. The tensioner is it's not too bad. Of course we're gonna get a new one, but shows me that this engine actually ran after it was rebuilt, if it was rebuilt at all. We will see. Took out the rocker shaft altogether. I tried to slide the rockers back and forth like this, and I can feel a lot of scratching going on. Like when you these I can't even move, you see. Yeah, so I can see that the rocker is catching on the shaft here, so definitely we're gonna need a new shaft. In most cases that's the case, but the rockers don't look too bad. They have some wear marks, but no nail catchers, at least on most of them. I think there was one which had a nail catcher. No. Anyway, they're not too bad. I'm gonna polish them and they're gonna be perfect. There's no nail catchers, which is good. So far we need rocker shaft. Push rods. Look at this. You can visually see how bent it is. Look at this one. This one somebody even tried to straighten. It was bent and then somebody straightened it. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all bent. I don't know why. So to be honest, we'll use lots of used parts, I believe, from David's engine. This one that we rebuilt, he bought new push rods for it, so I'm gonna take the push rods from there. I'm not gonna buy new ones. It's a budget rebuild, you know. Still, I'm gonna buy whatever it's needed, but if we can use some old parts, for example, if these push rods were straight, I was gonna reuse them, so I'm just gonna reuse the ones from a different car. So now, before we take out the camshaft though, I wanna measure the lift on each cam and make sure that they're not worn. Because when you take them out, you can do visually see if they are worn, if they have pits on them or not. But sometimes they might not show any pits or anything, but they might be worn. Like I've seen that before, like 5-10 thou worn. So I don't even know what it's supposed to be, but I'm gonna measure and record, and then we're gonna compare that with the spec. So I believe this is the lowest on this cam, the exhaust on the first cylinder. So now it starts going up. So that was 50, 100, 200, 200, and 58, 59 I should call it. And let's see if it's gonna go back to 0. Yeah, something needs to push it down. There you go. Now it's all the way down. So I'm just gonna go through all of them and record it. Let's check one more together, okay. Yeah, looks like we pull out this tappet out of its bore. So on TR4 only, it's possible that you pull out the tappet out of the bore in the block and it gets stuck in between the head and the bore, perpendicular or whatever. It happened to me before on an engine that I was just needed to take out the rockers to tighten the head because it was a rebuilt engine. I was taking out the rockers, the push rod got stuck to the rocker, and the tappet got stuck to the push rod, and it pulled the tappet out of its bore. It took me forever with a magnet and things to adjust it. Anyways, I'm gonna skip this one. We're gonna measure all the other ones, and this one we're gonna measure when we take it out. It's not very precise when you take it out, but I'm not gonna waste my time now. So let's bring this one all the way down. And that's my 0. Looks like it. Yeah, that's the same. 58, 57 and a half. Was it perfect 0? Yeah. So there's a tau difference between the first and the third one. Let's check the other ones. Yeah, 50, 56. So there's a tau or 2 difference on all of them. I'm gonna go through the rest and I'm gonna let you know what I find. Okay, this engine keeps giving me controversial information because I don't know if it showed on the time lapse, but the head came out like super easy. In the past I had to fight with heads, hammer them, put them upside down and hammer them out. This one came out as nothing. Now here, when you look at it, we don't have a rocker shaft anymore, right? But look at this first valve. It's a little bit down and it's the same underneath, so it was stuck open, but other than that, so we're gonna clean this up and see what the seats look like. If we don't have to machine anything, I would be mostly happy. If we have to go to the machine shop, then we're gonna install hardened seats. But if we don't have to go for anything else, I'm just gonna see if I can get away with that. Anyway, here, this is what I mean when I say that the tappets, I know,
Animals.
seeds all over the place.
Yeah.
This is what I mean when I say that the lifters, they can come out. Sometimes they get stuck to the push rod and you pull them out, and if you have the head on top, they're perfectly fine to sit like that, and then you're in big trouble. Once I had to deal with that. Anyway, now these are the 3 that I couldn't measure, so I'm gonna put them back in their bores and we're gonna measure these 3 as well. The other 5 were all between 256 and 259 tau lift, which is good. I mean, it's consistent. I don't know how good it is. We're gonna compare it to the spec. Oh, I guess this is one of these flat crankshafts. All the pistons are at the same level. All of them go at the same time up and down, I guess. Isn't it funny how it stopped? the last time. Actually, I turned it at some point when it was there, so I turned it to this position. Anyway, all the tappets are out and they all look great except one, which has a chipped thing, and that's the same one that had the push rods very bent. Not that the number 2 and 3 are not bent as well, and number 4 I think, no, actually 1, 2 and 3 were bent. So something happened in that area, but other than that they're good, so we're gonna keep them. We're gonna use one from David's TR4, maybe gonna replace this one as well. This one has a very small pit here.
And we got push rods.
Yeah, and we have push rods from his. So we're gonna flip it upside down now, and we're gonna start removing the bottom end here. We can't tell what's going on with the pistons. I'm gonna measure them just in case and see if
Still got coolant in there.
yeah, look at that, somebody put dots here, 1, 2, 3 and 4, but backwards. That's 1, that's 4.
Yeah.
Anyway, and they also put dots here. Like, really?
It's blueprinted.
But here it's 1 dot everywhere. 1, 1, 1 and 1. But this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't understand. Anyway, we're gonna measure these just in case and see. Maybe they're not worn. I don't feel a ridge. Maybe we just need to buy new pistons.
Yep.
But if I have to replace them,
You just need to buy new rings.
buy new rings, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're gonna be 86 millimeters or even smaller. That's TR3, right?
We'll see.
Might be 84.
No, they won't be 84s.
I don't know. We're gonna measure them and see, but let's take them out first.
Let's see.
Okay, the connecting rods are out with the pistons, and unfortunately the crankshaft doesn't look great. I mean, it has scoring. It's not a nail catcher, but you can see it. Well, here I have a nail catcher. So yeah, we're gonna require machining. We're gonna go to the next size, which whatever that is. We're gonna take out the main bearings now and see. Here are the pistons, and it looks like these are aftermarket pistons with a 4th ring here at the bottom. 2 of them though have this scoring at the bottom, and it's like you can feel it. It's not just, so I don't know how that happened, and it's in the same area for both of them. So I don't know. Other than that, look, the connecting rods look like they've been solder blasted or something, or wire wheeled. They're clean, but look at the bearings. They're all gray. I don't know why they're like that, and they're rough. They're pretty rough. Yeah, this ring is seized. This one is seized. Other than that, all the rings are okay. Number 1, is this number 1? No, that's actually number 4. On number 4, the top ring is seized here. All the other ones are pretty loose. Anyway, I don't want to be drastic yet, but I think I'm just gonna buy another set of liners and pistons, 87 millimeters, and since we're going to be machining the crankshaft, we're going to machine also the head a little bit, install hardened seats and stuff like that. So that's where we're going. Actually, we're going first for a beer break. Cheers. Okay, show me.
So do you think that the crankshaft should move this much?
I mean, as long as there's 23 tau in the spec, yes. Yeah,
That's
that's
on my
a
hip.
lot. Okay, I'm gonna put the
Slippery.
dial gauge and we're gonna check it, but I'm pretty sure that's why the pistons got
Yeah.
scraped in the bottom.
Look here. What was your?
Yeah, that's a lot. And let's measure it. I guess that's 23 tau, if not more.
I guess 26.
It might be more than that, but let's see.
Zero.
Yeah, that's
You
zero
ready?
now. Yeah. Oh my god, 38. I don't think that's in the spec. Yeah, 38 tau. Simply.
Wow.
So
It's a little out of tolerance.
the problem is that there are thrust
Yeah,
washers
there,
here,
Yeah.
and this means that maybe the crank is,
Well, let's pull the crank out.
yeah,
Only one way to find out.
crank might be bad in this area. Ah! Yeah, I have some good news today. All right, so just like on this engine, here they don't have the caps marked on the side because you can't even mix them. That's clearly one, that's two, that's three. However, this one can be flipped. This and this can't be flipped around, but this one can be flipped the other way around. That's why they put,
There is a mark here on this one, K98.
yeah, it says K.
Right here.
That one, yeah,
All right.
and it's in the correct orientation. Here we have also K98. Here we don't have anything, but we can't really,
Yeah, screw that up.
yeah, this we can't screw up. But here, the marks are not really clear, and David thinks that this is a K here,
Yep.
and I think maybe he's right, and it's the right orientation.
And an 8
the
down
same.
and an 8 there.
I don't know why they chose 9 and 8, like the two numbers that you can flip
Yeah.
the other way around, but
Yeah.
at least they have the K.
I think that one was it 69 or something on that one?
No, it was 98 as well.
Was it?
Like put
Yeah.
5, put 4,
Yeah.
like numbers that you can't mess around.
Yeah.
But yeah, this looks like a K.
Yeah.
We can mark it now, but how do we know if that's correct? Because obviously this engine has been taken apart, so whoever rebuilt it, they might have put it backwards. But yeah, I think that's okay. I'm gonna trust you.
Okay.
All right, so let's take the crank out. Okay, so when I took this cap out, one side, the thrust washer doesn't look too bad. The other side is a lot, like it's worn a lot. And unfortunately, the crank here has a huge ridge, so it's been worn down a lot. So this crank might be a boat anchor. Like David is saying, there are places where they can weld this and polish it and bring it back to the spec, but I think that's going to be more expensive than finding a used crank from somewhere. I don't want to pull out the one from the car because that's, first of all, that engine is going to be for my TR3, so still I'm going to need another crank for there. And I don't want to have way too many engines apart. I want to take that one, take the auxiliaries, whatever I need for this engine, and put it under the bench again and wait for the TR3. So I don't know. Let's see what we're gonna do. If you by any chance have a TR4, TR3 crankshaft that is sitting around, I might want to buy it from you.
Maybe John Mooney. Planet 6 parts.
Yeah, Planet 6 parts. I'm gonna check if he has anything.
Okay.
Lots of money.
No more bad news today.
No more bad news today. I'm tired of bad news. Okay, so the crank is out, and doesn't really matter anymore, but this is what the bearings look like. The main bearings. They're not too worn. I think what has been done on this engine, I think it has new pistons. Not really sure about the liners. The main bearings are new. The connecting rod bearings are not new, and nobody took care of the thrust washers. So something has been done, something has been missed, skipped. Maybe they didn't know, I don't know. I already messaged Scott Helms, who is making custom oversized thrust washers, including the ones for TR4, and I asked him if he can make that big thrust washers. Of course, I still don't know what exactly the size would be, but considering that this thrust washer was so worn, like really badly worn, and I'm thinking if I put regular size thrust washers like the standard, the end play is gonna be around 30 maybe. Here you can see still the slot, this slot, so I'm thinking the height above this slot is about 5-6 tau. So if I put regular thrust washers here, the end play is gonna be around 30. So that tells me that the oversized thrust washer must be 30 over the standard. So I already asked Scott if he makes that thick thrust washers, and if he does, maybe we can machine this a little bit just to make it smooth, and then determine the exact size that we need, and then he can make them. I also asked in the Rusty Beauties Facebook group if somebody around me has a crankshaft for sale, so maybe somebody's gonna have one that I can buy. So in this case, what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this engine the right side up, and I'm gonna measure the cylinders.
And we think maybe the scuffing on the bottom of the pistons might have been because of the...
Yeah, definitely that's the reason for this thing here that happened to these pistons, because they were pushed back and forth, and I'm pretty sure we have it on the other side. No, it's funny, we don't have it on number 1 and 2, but we have it on number 3 and 4. But that's for sure what it is. It's on the skirt of the piston, doesn't really matter. Looks like these pistons are new, including the rings. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip the engine the right side up. Okay, that's gonna work. And I'm gonna measure the bore of the 4 cylinders, and if they are consistent and within spec for whatever size, we're gonna take also the rings out of these pistons, and we're gonna put them at least number 1 and 2, and we're gonna put them in the cylinders and see what the gap is gonna be. So maybe I can save that at least, not buy new pistons and liners and rings, or if I have to buy new rings, I can buy new rings, depending on the size of the bore. And then just find another crank, and if we have to machine a new crank, we're gonna machine it. The camshaft turns out to be great, so we don't have to spend money on that. I'm gonna check this oil pump, but probably I'm gonna buy a new one just in case.
We have an old one from...
Yeah.
And we have tappets if we need.
Yeah, the tappets I'm gonna just use the used one. Push rods I'm gonna use the used ones. So all we need is
love.
All we need is love. Dun, 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 and a yellow submarine. We're gonna need a rocker shaft, we're gonna need a crankshaft, we're gonna need gasket seals and bearings and stuff like that. And yeah. It's a mess. It's the next day and it's a mess in the garage. So we worked with David until 10 p.m. last night on this car. So you're gonna see a video about it on his channel. Anyway, so what I started doing yesterday, like I said, I was gonna measure all the cylinders and see if they are salvageable. But I had trouble measuring, so I blamed it on my tool. It kept giving me different measurement all the time. Like I'm gonna try to show you. So that is like 9, almost 9 tau. From 0 to the left is almost 9 tau. Then I take it out, and then I put it back again, and it is 7 thou or 8 thou, or what is that, 7.5 thou, and it kept giving me wrong measurements, and I was blaming it on the 2 until I figured out that it changes so much at the end. Like at the bottom, it's everywhere, it's good, it's like pretty much the same measurement, but at the top it's always giving me different measurement. And I figured that right here at the end, even though you can't see it, there's a huge taper. If I move it like 1/4 inch up, it changes by a thou. So unfortunately we're gonna have to replace also the liners and pistons. That's fine, I was prepared for that. I just don't know what to do with the crank. So I put it over there and I'm trying to find another one. And we actually figured that where we took the car from, where we picked up the car from, they also had this crank there. And I thought that somebody else was gonna pick it up because they bought the rest of the cars that were there and parts, but it was left behind. So I drove for 2 hours this morning to go and pick it up, and unfortunately it has the same ridge here. So that's how it needs to be. Like on this side we need to have a little embossed part, but here we have a recess. So no luck with this one as well. I have a customer's one here, but I can see through the plastic here. Both sides are embossed, and but I wanna measure what the distance is here and compare it to this, but no, there's no way. I got an email back from Scott Helms, who makes oversized bearings, thrust washers, and he said that he can make a thrust washer over here, but it's gonna be $150 US. Plus, I'm not sure what the machine shop is gonna charge and how that's gonna work, because now I'm afraid that this surface is below this surface on the other side of the ridge. So I think that's, I don't know, it's too complicated. It's gonna be a 30 thou oversized bearing on one side, and then the other side is gonna be standard, but I don't know, we will see. Anyway, the research for a new crank continues. Or another crank, I mean, not a new one. Alright, and before I put an end to this video, I'm gonna take the head apart as well, just take out the valves and see what the situation with the valve guides is, even though I'm pretty sure I'm gonna buy valves and guides and hardened seats for the exhaust valves, but I want to take it apart and see. First of all, I have to find out whether it is the wide valve guides or the narrow ones. Yeah, I think these are the wide, the 3/8 exhaust valves versus 5/16 on the intake. But yeah, for the early heads they used to be like that. But yeah, let me take them apart and see also why this one is seized. Okay, I started from number 8 and all the way to number 2, everything is out. Turns out that we have dual spring with a bottom collar on the intake and a triple spring without bottom collar on the exhaust, just for my information as well. To be honest, the valves look like they're pretty tight inside the valve guides. There's absolutely no play, so maybe they have been replaced. I don't know, some parts of this engine have been done, some haven't, so I don't know, maybe the head was rebuilt. Let's see about this one though, because this one is the one that is seized. So let's see if we can make it move, because if it doesn't go up, we can take the collets out. It's pretty well seized. Well, let me try. Okay, that worked actually. So now I can remove the springs and try to push it out. Okay, it's moving. This is lead hammer. I don't want to damage it because I want to reuse it apparently eventually. It's out. Doesn't feel terrible, so I don't know why it was jammed, but okay, I'll clean quickly the seats here to see what the condition is, and I will clean the valves and we're gonna go from there. Okay, so I cleaned up just a little bit inside the combustion chambers to see to check for cracks, because usually if there are cracks, this is the weakest spot, and there are no cracks, which is good. Then I was able to clean this valve on the wire wheel, and I sprayed WD-40 inside there, and gently I went up and down as much as I could until it started going all the way, and it is going pretty well now actually. Like, it is perfect, there's no play, and I cleaned also the intake, and as well there's no play. However, the seats are pretty pitted on both sides, so we definitely need machine work, and since we're gonna do machine work, then we're just gonna go with new valves and hardened inserts for the exhaust. Also, the valves are pretty pitted, so we can't reuse them. Look at this. Even the intake, usually the exhaust is the one that gets pitted, but here even the intake is pitted, so nothing. And since we're gonna be changing valves and gonna do machine work, I'm gonna also order the valve guides. And yes, just to confirm, all the TR3 engines, I believe, and the earlier TR4s had a 3/8 stem on the exhaust valve versus 5/16 on the intake. Later TR4 and TR4A had 5/16 on the exhaust as well. Alright, so now that we have the entire engine taken apart and we know what we need, I'm gonna be able to order parts, except actually can't order main bearings and connecting rod bearings yet because I don't know what crankshaft I'm gonna use. At the end of the day, if I don't find anything in the next 2-3 days, I'm just gonna take the engine out of the car and I'm gonna take out that crankshaft. Hopefully we can work with that. We will see. And then I'm gonna have another engine taken apart, but that's my main reason why I don't want to do that, because we're gonna have another engine taken apart and just sitting somewhere. I don't have time to finish 2 engines at the same time, even though it would be a good idea to rebuild it and just store it, but you never know how it's gonna be. But you never know how long it's gonna sit, so I want to rebuild it in the last moment. Just like my GT6, I rebuilt it a year ago when I haven't started it yet. Anyways, I think we're gonna put an end to this video. I have pretty good idea of what parts I need. So that's gonna be everything for today, guys. Thank you for watching, commenting, subscribing, sharing, and supporting me on Patreon and via PayPal. That's really, really appreciated. So if you haven't subscribed yet, because there's lots of people who watch my videos and are not subscribed apparently. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you like the rusty beauties that I work on and the work that I do, please consider subscribing, because that helps me with the algorithm of YouTube. The more subscribers I have, the more views I have, the more the algorithm shows my videos to other people who are not subscribed and who are not, it's helpful. It's really helpful. And of course, if you want to go further than that, you can consider becoming a Patreon. There's a link in the description to that, or just support the channel in another way. There's multiple links on the video description that you can use to support the channel a little bit, because believe me, it takes lots of time to make those videos. It's not about the work that I do, that most of the times I'm paid for. It is about the editing of the videos. That's what I'm not paid for, and your support there is gonna help me to spend more time on the computer to edit more videos. So that's really appreciated. But even just by sharing and subscribing and all that, it's really helpful. So I'm expecting a big spike on the number of my subscribers after this video, right? Promise? Promise. Okay. So I'm gonna go plan my 1 million subscriber video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.